Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee, and it's the 18th of August, and it's about 7:58 in the morning, 7:57, something like that. 77 degrees, and we're going to be 92 today. Borderline air conditioning. Not a comfortable day, but not that bad. So what's going to happen? What are we going to cover today? Iran gave Trump a very, very serious ultimatum, and Trump is running around again with the nonsense. Oh, we got him where we want him. We're negotiating. When you hear this ultimatum, you're going to realize how far gone Trump is. Okay. And on my Telegram, I saw on the internet that Trump made an AI picture of himself in a suit riding on a black horse next to George Washington on a white horse. What is this guy, crazy? Obviously. Who would do that? He did one with an AI picture of him with an alien. You know, what people are, the people that are pro-America, the patriots, the military guys, the gun guys, the survivalists, and, and they don't focus to their viewers that Trump is in Gaga land, are really doing their viewers a disservice. They're afraid some of the people won't like it and will leave, but they're doing you a real disservice. This guy is a whack job. Okay. And the lies, Fox News finally dumped on him on the lies. We'll cover that. We'll cover the ultimatum. We'll cover what's going on. Trump is threatening to bomb Oman because they're negotiating with Iran, but he didn't offer to bomb. He didn't talk about bombing the UAE, and they made a deal with Iran, obviously. Also, he doesn't talk about the Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia pact. I never hear him talk about it. Do you? No, he's trying to make believe it doesn't exist. He's blotting it out of his mind or something. He's a goner, you know. In law enforcement, they would say he's ready for the rubber gun squad, or stuff like that. I mean, guys, the president of the United States, and we'll talk about Kushner and Gaza. Kushner and Trump have never gotten a single negotiated peace deal done that I'm aware of that ever lasted. Okay? It's a joke. Ukraine, Russia, failure. Gaza, failure. Hezbollah, failure. Houthis, failure. Syria, failure. Why? Syria opened up bases to Russia, so Russia now has bases on the Mediterranean, an air base and a navy base, to fight against NATO. And Trump's a member of NATO, so that blew up. He can't get anything right. Nothing. And people, oh, Trump. Boy, people that are telling you to tout Trump are really doing you a disservice. This guy's a stone cold loser. Okay, Israel's finished with this character. I did some research just about how many people left Israel when the war started in 2023, and taking into account some coming back, and it probably is maybe at 200,000 down. In other words, we're down about 200,000, and if the wars stop, how many of those would come back? Probably half. So anyway, most of the ones that left are the typology on this sort of demographic is they're married and they have a higher education. So they probably are going, when they leave, they're probably going to see family someplace in the world and stay there and look for a job. And then when they can get a job, then they'll, bring people back in. Now, in Israel, a foreigner getting a job is normally a joke. Unless you could do something that nobody else can do, they have no interest in hiring you as a foreigner. Okay? It's pretty rare they'll do it. Okay? You've got to be able to do something that other people can't do, or you got to be like from India or something where you're willing to come over here and work for a third or a fifth or a half of what the Israelis are getting paid to do it. Like you could code and you'll work for half as much as they will. Then they might do it. Employers are not so nice to get work with here. A lot of people come here and they interview, and what do the employers say? Well, they'll say, well, we'll see. If you move here, we'll see. Maybe, we're just talking now. Maybe. And what does that mean? It means if you move there, they might knock you down 20-30% on the pay or something like that. When you're a foreigner, you'll work in these companies and it's a big mystery how much money the Israelis make. They know how much money each other makes, but they're not going to tell you. All right, let's. So we got a lot to talk about today. The ultimatum is pretty serious, okay? And if you think Iran's not going to go through with it when I explain it to you, well, you don't understand Iran. Trump's the one who doesn't understand Iran. Kushner, Witkoff, Hegseth, Vance, they don't understand Iran, okay? And they're constantly trying to think they're going to make Iran operate in the American way of doing things, and boy, are they wrong. Okay, let me go into the live stream and make sure we got a nice functional thing going on. We got people coming in and it looks pretty good. We got sound going on. We got people coming in and it looks pretty good. We got sound going on. I gotta put a post up in there, which is pretty quick. Thank you, everybody, greeting me, and let me get my post and we'll get going. This is probably just going to take seconds. Alright, checking for typos, and everything looks good. And let me pin it. Okay, we're done with that. Being a Bible believing site, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. Let's see if. Oh, let me get a quick prayer for us. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for a good live stream. We have a good time. The anointing is good. It helps the people. It helps me. We understand the Bible portion of live stream, and we understand the news also. And we understand what the nations are up to, and we understand how you're fulfilling prophecy and where we are in prophecy and what's going to happen. That we all can absorb that and understand it, and we have no problems, no technical problems or other problems, sabotage or whatever. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And if anybody's going to try to do any witchcraft or sorcery directed at me, I'm going to do a giant dump on the unclean spirits in thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So you're going to pay a price of, I hope, 100, 200,000 demons getting tossed. And everybody's going to join in, we're all going to agree. So if you want to do that, go ahead. I'll just laugh, knowing I put a massive amount of jackass demons in the pit. Okay? This is not a churchianity site. All right. Let's see if we got prayer requests. I don't remember. Where is my prayer? There it is. No, we don't. Okay. Iran has delivered an ultimatum to the United States and states the U.S. has 3 to 4 weeks to meet all of its, and I mean all, not the detergent all of its demands, or Iran will severely escalate in the Strait of Hormuz and launch its planned preemptive strike on U.S.-backed Gulf infrastructure and U.S.-Israeli assets. Iran's demands include $300 billion in reconstruction funds. Okay, but they didn't take it up. I'm surprised. a full release of Iran's frozen assets up to 120 billion. I thought it was only 100. Okay. Lifting of the U.S. naval blockade, end to the war across all fronts, including Gaza and Lebanon, accepting Iran's permanent control of the Strait of Hormuz, including up to 7% of transit fees. So if somebody goes through, let me give it to you in arithmetic, okay? 7% is not really, you don't understand maybe. A small oil tanker runs at about 300,000 barrels of oil. That's a small one. All right, let's run the numbers. 300,000, and we'll put the price at about $80. No, let's drop it because things, if it went on, oil would be cheaper. It would be, let's say, 65. We'll be very generous. Something didn't work. Let's try it again. Okay, 300,000 times 65. That's 19.5 million. Now we'll run that at 7%. That means off this little boat, Iran's toll charge is 1.365. So it's $1,365,000. Now, let's take the large ships, which run 1 to 3 million barrels of oil. So let's go in the middle at 2 million. Okay? So we got 2 million barrels of oil times $65 a barrel. That's $130 million, okay, times 0.07 for their tariff. So they want to collect $9.1 million. So let's say you got, I don't know, usually they get about 65 ships a day in the Persian Gulf. So they're going to tag all of them 7%. Not just on oil. If you bring in Nike sneakers or umbrellas or oranges, same thing. Of course, the dollar amount would be less. I don't know what they're going to do on container ships. Probably the same thing. So, you know, you're looking at, I don't know, $100 million a day at least. For nothing. For nothing. What are they going to spend $25,000 a day running their operation? A few guys on a radio in a room. Yeah, take this path, take that path, go, go, go. Yeah, at least $100 million a day. Crazy, isn't it? Okay, back to it. They want all their sanctions lifted, okay? All of them. They want them listed on the Iranian oil, the petrochemicals, the LNG, the gas, everything. And at present, Iran has the initiative and momentum. U.S. interceptor inventories are depleted, while high oil prices amplify Tehran's leverage. If oil goes, it's around 85 on the WTI, so-called American, and about 91 on the Brent, the European. So it's getting back up there. But I mean, back up there would be $115, $125 a barrel. That's back up there. Okay. So their blockade is working as well as the American blockade. America has stopped ships from going in and out of Iran. As far as I know, they've stopped 100%. If I'm wrong, they might have only stopped 99.8%, But I mean, I believe it's got a complete blockage. And the Iranians have an almost complete, they probably have a 95, 98% blockage on ships coming in. They got, or 92, or, it's very, very high. So, let's get into what they intend to do. I did get that someplace. Well, it's the same, they intend to hit all the Gulf states. They're going to hit the water desalinators, the ports, the piers, the airports, the electrical grid. So they're going to shut down everything regarding oil, and they'll probably hit the oil wells. So they're going to unleash missile barrages like crazy. These last weeks that Trump let them run around while he lied to the world about his great negotiations, they probably made hundreds, if not thousands, of missiles. Trump is a dumbbell because when he had them months ago, he never should have stopped. He had them. All he had to do was keep going, and he would have broke them. But maybe Satan told him not to. They are Satan's chosen people. So maybe he was told to not do it. I don't know what's going on, but you can only trust this Trump as far as you could throw him. So you could rest assured that there is no negotiations going on. This is the negotiations. They told Trump, you will meet all our demands or we're going to unload. Okay? Now, what's puzzling me is why they said 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know why they gave Trump that much time. They could have, this makes me think that maybe they're punking out. Why did they give him that long? Maybe they're thinking this is such a serious thing. If we start doing it, the damage that our country is going to take is going to be extremely massive. And we might not have a country, so let it, wait, and then maybe they need prep for, they want to get more missiles built in 3.5 weeks, or they want more sleeper agents in America, or they're telling Trump they're going to hit the Gulf states and they're going to attack America. They also said they'll attack Israel, but that was like an afterthought at the end. They said Israel, but I'm not so sure they want to attack Israel, because they're going to get it badly if they do. But you never know. Kushner and Miladinov sat down with Netanyahu after meeting with Hamas. So they had a 4-hour meeting with Netanyahu in Israel, trying to, read the facts of life to Netanyahu and tell him what he was up against. And Netanyahu's not particularly interested, because he knows what he's up against, and he doesn't need this kid Kushner, the nepotism kid, to tell him. Iran's foreign minister says it will consider 3 missing pilots to be prisoners in Qatar, despite Qatar's denial. Until it clarifies their fate, whatever that means. Tehran has said the Iranians were missing those 3 pilots while carrying out an operation against the United States, the air base in Qatar. So they were saying they weren't attacking Qatar, they just happened to be attacking a piece of geography America has a base on inside the country of Qatar on March 2nd, shortly after the outbreak of the Middle East war. So it looks like Iran is bearing down, and they might start attacking Qatar seriously. They were not going after Qatar's trains and airports, and I don't think maybe they did go after the airports, but they didn't go after their office buildings and residential high-rises and things like that, but they probably will if this ignites. New Hampshire wildfire grows after burning for 3 days. So there's fires now. If you don't know, New Hampshire's not on the West Coast. It's on the East Coast, so that's a big difference. Okay. Be advised that Japan holds 4.1 trillion, not billion, trillion. $1 trillion is 1,000 billion, and a billion is 1,000 million. This is a huge amount of money in American bonds, T-bills, bonds. And they're talking about taking some of this out and putting it elsewhere in other countries, I guess, to get a yield or something like that. So what it might be, they're looking at this and they're saying, oh, the Iranians are probably going to attack America, and America's going to be in trouble. I don't want to hold American bonds. So Japan are mean people, and they wear 2 faces. They wear a very friendly, polite face, but they're backstabbers. That's what they did to America during World War II. They had their negotiating team inside America negotiating while Pearl Harbor got hit. Do you think they changed since then? I don't. I don't. They hate all the other countries. They have such a high hate level for them. They keep their country away from foreigners to a tremendous extent. Okay. Huge. So I don't know what's up with them. They could hurt if they dump. They could drag down the value of the U.S. dollar. Probably someplace between 7 and 12%, as a guess. Trump threatened on Monday to strike Oman if they interfere in a potential deal over control of the Straits of Hormuz. So, see, Oman doesn't know what to do. They're not the brightest lights in the harbor. There's some stupid child who grew up with his father and his grandfather as kings, and he grew up in a palace with a platinum spoon in his mouth, and doesn't know if he's coming or going. Doesn't know his right hand from his left hand, and he's bouncing around. Oh, let me be allied with Iran. Oh, let me be allied with Trump. He's going back like a cat with a ping pong ball. He doesn't know what he's doing. So now he's going to get scared and go back to Trump's side. They were making a deal with Iran where they were going to deter people from going by the Oman route. The Oman route is on the opposite side of the Persian Gulf, furthest away from Iran, and Trump has been sneaking ships in there that Iran doesn't know about because their radars have been blown up. And, the distance is too great to sit there with binoculars or something like that. They're not going to send, drones out there to spy because they'll get shot down. And they don't have any aircraft. So they got no way of knowing that the ships are going through. No way. So they want to bring Oman into this thing. So I guess Oman would be observing it and tell them to turn back. And if they didn't turn back, one or two things would happen. Oman would fire a missile at the ship that they got from Iran and damage the ship, or Iran would be the one to do it. I don't know how they're going to play it, but somebody has to damage the ship to get deterrent value out of it. Okay? So Trump is saying, if you're going to play this game with me, I'm going to bomb you. And do I think Trump would bomb Oman for this? Yes. Yes. But would it be a serious attack? No, Trump's not that capable. It'd be a military attack. It wouldn't be, he wouldn't bomb the royal palace and stuff like that. He should, but he wouldn't. I'm very anxious to see what Iran does about the UAE. That's obviously in bed with Iran now. Let's see how that goes. I don't think America had any bases in Oman, or if they did, it was small, insignificant, or something. So I think that's why Trump doesn't care, because they can't turn around and tell Trump, take your base out. What base? But let's see if he does have a base in Oman. Let's check. I don't know. I think he might. Let's find out. Does the United States have a military base in the country of OMAN? They do. I thought so. Okay. Okay, it's like a little shade of gray here. The U.S. has military forces and equipment in Oman, but it does not operate a large, exclusively American base there, like in Qatar. Uh, the U.S. has had a military facility access agreement with Oman since 1980. It allows American forces to use several Omani bases. Okay, that's why I was confused. They don't have an exclusive base. They use the Oman military bases. They move in on there with troops and equipment. All right, that's what goes on. So they can kick America out. We got to see how this goes. Now the Saudis are up to something. They're talking about offering oil from near Oman. Oman's not in the Persian Gulf. It has the Sea of Oman. So the Saudis are offering to get the oil into oil tankers over there, so there's no need to go into the Persian Gulf and risk the Straits of Hormuz and things like that. I don't exactly know much more about that. It probably is not something Iran could stop without the help of Oman. And if Oman wants to turn against Saudi Arabia, well, now they've been put on warning. Trump will bomb them. But then I believe Trump has to pull his forces out of Oman, or they might arrest them and use them as hostages against Trump. Trump better be careful about that, and I don't know if he's that careful. I think he is pretty careful. He doesn't want to see American servicemen get killed. That's for sure. Israel has stopped any exports to Qatar that are of a military nature. So what Netanyahu is doing is he's hanging Qatar out to dry and hoping that Iran finishes Qatar off. I tell you that Qatar, not just because they don't like Israel, they're a bunch of miserable, aggravating, disgusting people, and what they do is horrific. They take advantage of foreign workers. They're just rotten people, okay? Rotten. The Iraq-Syria oil pipeline to bypass the Straits of Hormuz that Trump, I think, was talking about, we need to put it into the comical category. It'd take 4 years and $15 billion. Who's going to come up with $15 billion? And 4 years, Trump has 3 to 4 weeks, not 4 years. So let's get off of that. I remember in the 70s, they were building the pipelines in Alaska, and they were hiring people and paying pretty good money. If you had a good good background in this type of thing, engineering or whatever, geology. You know, they were paying a lot of money to go up there, but you were basically living in the middle of nowhere. And I knew guys that were going up there for security. They were hiring ex-military people like Green Berets and, you know, Rangers or whatever, to go up there and provide security for the pipeline. It was a, you know, and if you were just a laborer, it was a big payday to go up there. And I think was it 6 weeks or something, they flew you from the fields where you were working to, I think they took you into the big city in Alaska, or they brought you into the States. I think, I can't remember, but there was nothing to do except you worked all the time, and you had nothing to do there. They had no internet back then, so what were you doing, you know? It was nothing. People went up there to make good money and save money. You couldn't spend your money. What were you going to spend it on? Phone calls, you know, nothing to spend it on. Somalia pirates board a cargo ship in the Red Sea area, and Somalia joined that 15-nation alliance with Saudi Arabia to make the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf safe, and their pirates boarded a ship. It shows you how dumb the Satan bots are, you know. Oh, they think they're so smart, you know, but they're pretty dumb. They get mentored by people and they learn how to do things that way, but they don't have any innate intelligence, you know. These big shots, the top Satan bot dogs, you know, they know how to dress, they know how to walk, they know how to go to a meeting and say pointed things and, you know, make comments to people that have a hidden meaning in what they said. And, you know, that's because they have no skill set. They can't contribute to anything directly and openly because they're morons. That's why. They're not smart people. I shouldn't call them morons. They're not smart people. They're skilled in deception, that's all. They don't really understand how to run anything, you know. A lot of them couldn't work as a waiter in a Friday's restaurant, you know. It would overwhelm them, you know. Okay. A Russian oil tanker has broken the U.S. imposed blockade on Cuba. So I guess he brought them oil. The Russian vessel arrived in a Cuban port yesterday evening or the day before, carrying 100,000 tons of crude. 100,000 tons is not a barrel. Let's see. $100,000 tons of crude oil on a ship. Convert this into barrels of oil. It's about 750,000 barrels. So that was not a very large oil tanker. It was, I would say, big medium, but big medium. Okay, the big size of a medium tanker, and that'll help Cuba some, you know. And it just shows Trump to be weak again. That's all. And what Trump doesn't understand, these probes against him are encouraging a big unified war against America, which we've covered in Jeremiah 50:51, because they see weakness. this is not just a little bit, it's a common standard operating occurrence. It just keeps going on. Trump doesn't have the stomach. The Americans are saying that the Iran talks are better than ever. Yeah, and while they got an ultimatum. Tehran refers to this claim that the Americans made as a fantasy. Kushner says the U.S. contacts with parts of Iran's regime are better than ever, but the IRGC denies any talks are taking place. Trump says, I don't think there are any talks. The IRGC might kill the people that were talking to America, but I just don't think there are any talks. I just don't believe it. Now, this is fascinating. You guys got to understand. I never heard of this one before either. It's in Israel. Anti-Netanyahu move. They've created a thing here called Fly and Vote. They're giving people a seat in a subsidized flight. Now, I don't know if it's free. It's probably not free, but it's probably at least half price, if not more. Minimum half price, maybe a third of the price. So they're chartering the plane. They're putting people on it from other countries that are going to vote the way they want them to vote, which is against Netanyahu. Israeli citizens have to come here to vote. I don't believe they can go to the embassy and vote. So Netanyahu and his boys definitely don't want to see Israelis living in other countries voting, because if they've been living several years in another country, they're going to see what a deficient leader he is and vote against him. So that's not something that he wants, of course. So they're trying to bring a legal action against these subsidized flights called Fly and Vote. And I don't know, they're saying it's vote bribery. It is, but the saving grace for the people running the program is basically they're going to say we're not telling the people how to vote, but they probably are, or they wouldn't be doing it, It's an expensive way to go, but I guess they're desperate to get rid of Netanyahu. So what it'll be is they'll fly the people over here, and I don't know if it's a one-way or a round trip. I really don't have the let me see if I can pick up the details. What are the details about how this fly and vote thing going on in Israel, which is scandalous right now? How does it work? How much money is subsidized? What do the people pay? Is it a round trip ticket or a one-way ticket? How long could they stay here before they go home? Are there any demands made onto them as to how they have to vote to get in these fly and vote aircraft seats? See if we got any information on it. We probably do. The project is being run by the U.S. based nonprofit aid coalition. Oh, America's doing this. Oh, the goal is to help Israeli citizens living abroad get to Israel for the October 27th election, because ordinary Israelis abroad generally cannot vote. They can't absentee vote unless you like work for the embassy or you work for the Israeli government and you're overseas. You know. So I imagine if you were in the military and you were stationed in Germany, you know, for some reason, you'd be able to go to the embassy and get a ballot and vote. I'm guessing that would be the case. I'm pretty sure. They have to physically go to Israel to vote. There's expected 500,000 Israelis abroad that can vote. Now, you see, this gives us a pretty good figure about how many Israelis are living outside. But let me break this down for you. It's 500,000 eligible Israeli voters. Well, if you have your Israeli citizenship, you have it forever, so you'd be able to vote, okay? You just need your ID card. It's called a 2.2. You'd be able to vote. So if they got 500,000 eligible voters out there, it's probably at least 1 million or 800,000 Israelis abroad, because you got to have a few 100,000 that are not eligible to vote in there with them, like I would guess. No, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, the women could vote, the men could vote, the children would only be able to vote if they were of age and had a citizenship, and if they were of age and they never went in the military, I don't think they would be able to vote. I don't. What? I don't understand.
Mommy.
She's bad again?
Clean plate.
Oh, she scarfed up the food. Good.
Yes, sir.
Good. Yeah, so that's an interesting factor. There's got to be more than 500,000 because they have children and the children wouldn't be able to vote. But okay. The details. How much is being subsidized? They're saying they don't pay participants travel expenses, and that participants themselves are responsible for their travel costs. It arranges blocks of airline seats, group flights, charters, helps locate flights, and coordinates logistics. What does the passenger pay? No published fee. The organization's current website says prices depending on the route and services, and will use tiered pricing. Also says a separate scholarship program will be available to certain participants who volunteer in approved projects in Israel, but the details have not yet been establish round trip or one way. The public, blah blah blah, does not establish any universal rules about one way or round trip. No, oh, wait. One universal rule that every fly and vote booking is a round trip ticket. Oh, it doesn't have any firm rules on that. The organization says it will arrange flights from major departure cities, including New York, LA, London, Berlin, and Melbourne. How long you could stay in Israel before you have to leave is not determined. You gotta verify that you're able to vote. One of the things that could screw somebody up is your identity card is good for 10 years. Technically, it expires. There must be 1 million people in Israel running around with expired identity cards. I don't think anybody really gets concerned about it. Maybe I'm wrong. I always renew mine, but maybe, so that would probably be the big requirement. Well, they don't have to state who they're going to vote for, but because Netanyahu wants to stop it, I would say he's scared about this, so there's a reason why he's scared. Um, See, these are people that are living abroad and they don't like Netanyahu because a lot of them are living abroad because of this jackass's 23 years of terror reigning over this country as a curse. And it made it that they can't afford to live in Israel anymore. They can't afford to buy a house. They can't afford to buy a car unless they get a car that's big enough to put a chihuahua in, you know. They, a tiny car like a Fiat 500, even that's expensive. That could cost you $30,000 here. So they don't. They're not Netanyahu fans, okay? So he's afraid. So if they're gonna buy blocks of seats and charters and stuff like that, you're gonna get about half price. You might get more. So, yeah, that's an interesting development, and I sincerely hope it works and hurts Netanyahu's chances of being reelected, but I wouldn't count on it. It doesn't mean there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be. A lot of these people have been out of Israel for decades, and they're not going to come back. just because they could get half price on a ticket, they're not going to bother. They don't live here, they're going to say, nah. But then some of them will say, oh, my relatives live there. You know, I don't know. I don't know, maybe. Um, I don't think they've got, they could be threatening to sue him, but that doesn't mean they're going to sue him unless Netanyahu's going to try to cook the books, which I don't think he can in the courts. So they could sue him, but I don't think it's going to do any good. And how they going to, you know, the other thing, well, what are they going to do? I mean, these people are not in America. How's he going to stop them? Block the flights that they try to come in on? So he'd have to get a restraining order from the court? I don't know. Nobody ever did anything like this before. I never heard of it. Could it be that Trump is arranging this because he wants to see Netanyahu get back in office because Netanyahu is so compliant to him? Very possible. But these people are not likely to vote for Netanyahu, so it's a stupid idea if he did it. But maybe somebody else did it. I don't know who. You know, the Arabs could do this. They could be funding it because they want to get rid of Netanyahu. They've got the money to fund it. It could be them. Yeah. Yeah. The so-called settlers, I call them Israelis, living in the West Bank are torching Palestinian fields. In nighttime attacks. Well, the Palestinians, those lovely people, did that plenty of times to the Israelis that live and work in the West Bank. So the best that I could understand is the Iranians gave an ultimatum to America, and they gave it to them in writing. And they're not into negotiations with them. They just tell them, this is what you do, this, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or we do this. They're not going to talk about it. So Fox News is dumping Trump's Hormuz oil lies. The network that normally functions as Trump's personal propaganda machine has been forced to abandon the Straits of Hormuz oil narrative that Trump pushes. The facts on the ground and at the pump have become too brutal to spin any longer without looking completely idiotic, ridiculous, is what they said. Yeah, they got to the point where they were losing their credibility, when no one wants to believe anything they say. It's too absurd. Fox is saying that gasoline prices are really bad. They're not doing the happy talk. I'm looking at the whole article. Trump insists that Iran has no navy, no air force, unpaid soldiers, a decimated IRGC, and is all talk and no action. Reality keeps answering with higher oil prices and continuous disruption. Trump did say he has no intention of extending the memorandum of understanding, whatever it is, that he had with Iran for 60 days. He said no, he's not renewing that. So we'll see what he does. If he's if he's smart, which is really hard to imagine. The Pentagon is generally smart, but he doesn't. Obviously, he doesn't listen to them. That he would do something to punitive to Iran to shut down their threats to him. Okay. To do something means boom, 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 bomb, 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 Iran. And if he does that, they're going to strike back at the Gulf states and whatever's left of his bases, if there is anything left of his bases. Let's check oil prices to see what's going on. We'll use gasoline. So I know what the oil prices for paper oil is, but let's. What are the gasoline prices on average in the United States for the 3 grades of gasoline plus diesel? I think this comes from the Auto Club. Regular gas, that's the low test, $4.06 on average. So in some states it'll be less, in some states more. Okay. Mid grade, 466. No, 456. And premium, 495. That's an ouch. That's $5 for premium. And diesel is $5.45. I would say gas is up. I would say the trouble area with gas is going to kick in at about $8 a gallon. That's when people are going to have trouble going to work. So you're not there yet, but it is high. So Trump is, again, making a mess of things. Let's take a look at the chat and then we'll get into the Bible. Somebody gave me this Shalom Moshela. Yeah, that's what they would say in Israel if you were a close friend. They would say Moshela. It's like, if you're talking in America, say with Trump, you've got Mr. Trump. Let's forget the presidency for a minute. You have Mr. Trump, and then you have Donald, and then a good friend would call him Don or Donnie. Donnie would be a really good friend, right? So, with Moshe, if you were really good friends, you'd say Moshela. Okay. Let me check here. I'm trying to see if people are sending in prayer requests or asking something. I don't know. No, I don't have anything here. All right. Let's go do the dry bones of Ezekiel 37. We'll actually do the whole chapter. Okay? And so it talks about the two sticks, one in my hand, and we'll break this down. Now, a lot of people get very mad about this because it's restricted to the Israelites, pretty much, and it is because he closed their eyes and stopped up their ears, lest they turn to him and get saved, so the punishment would be fulfilled. So how could it possibly apply to a non-Israelite that came to faith in God? Because he wouldn't be in this group of those that are punished and went to the bad place. He would have been in Abraham's bosom. See? So you got to put those things into the program, which the haters are not going to want to go for. They just like hate. Okay, so we're using the Codex Leningrad, which is from, I should give you an update on Mommy Dog. Mommy Dog is doing great. She's eating like here, I give her some food off my plate on the table, and I gotta count my fingers after, here's the food, whoop, it goes like that, and that's her, she's, whoop, she wants to get it. So she's running around and walking and wagging her tail and jumping on the bed and being herself. But please pray for her, because we don't have a handle on what happened yet. We're not sure. I could be over, But we thought it was over some days ago, and it came back bad. And we thought for a while we were going to lose her. That's how bad it came back. So please keep praying. I really appreciate it. I don't have friends to speak of here. I'm isolated like you, okay? There's a lot of believers in my region here. It's loaded with believers, but they're into the congregation's churchianity, and they don't have a lot of use for me. They'll tolerate me because anybody who says, Yeshua is Lord, they'll tolerate, so they'll tolerate me if I wanted a fellowship with them. But you're getting rapture with them. We got to eat kosher food. I'm not kidding. They believe they need to eat kosher food. Kosher food's not even in the Bible. I could deal with somebody that's saying they need to only eat clean food. I know how to address that in Acts 10. If it applied to the people, why didn't God put images of people on the sheet that came down for Peter? Why did he put animals on it? Okay? And did he ever tell Peter, these people, they say it means the people that ate unclean food are now clean. Did it ever say in there that, they're clean as long as they don't continue to eat the unclean food? And when the people were living in other parts of the world, not Israel, did the apostles put any burden on them that included only eating clean food? No. But when you're dealing with people with kosher food, that's when I get like, okay? It's not in the Bible anywhere. It's manufactured. And it's economic. The rabbis control it, and they keep our food prices 20% high so they can tell everybody that it's clean. And what they do is they ruin the food. It's a nasty joke. I don't even know if the rabbis themselves know it's a nasty joke. They wash the food, the meat, they wash it, right? Then they put big chunks of salt on it, like what you would do if you lived in New York or Boston and you had sleet and ice in your driveway that you walk down all the time, and you really are not in the mood to fall down and break your head. So you put salt out, right? And the salt goes through the slushy ice and all that, and gives you a grip, and you're okay. You can walk, okay? And you got that, and that's what they put on the meat. So then the salt gets in the meat. Then they wash the salt off. Again, more water. And they put another layer of salt on it. And I don't know if they washed that second dose off or not, probably. So the meat tastes very tasteless. They kill the taste. And they also make it tough, really. So we buy the meat that's not kosher because it is healthier. You don't have to have all that salt in there. It's healthier, and it works better. It's tastier. It's good. And we're also doing. My wife's figured out how to dry age, or she's doing a different kind of aging. She's aging the meat, and she's been experimenting, and the happy spot, or the sweet spot, whatever you want to call it, is 3 to 4 weeks. And let me tell you, it tastes delicious and it's soft. And she does it with, when you use the kosher meat, it comes out pretty good. But when you use the non-kosher meat, it comes out really good. I don't eat that much. If we got steak, I'll eat maybe something like this. That's enough for me. 10, 15 years ago, I'd eat a 16-ounce steak like it was nothing. you know. Uh, I used to have a favorite restaurant. I'd go there and I'd get a 16-ounce T-bone, and I would get a baked potato, and I would get some vegetables with it, and I'd have a Caesar salad with it, and then I'd have strawberry cheesecake for dessert, and I'd walk out of there. If I tried that today, I don't think I'd walk out of there. I'd have to lay down and rest. You know, I can't push food like that anymore, you know. So they do that, and they not only eat regular kosher, they eat Mehedrin. Mehedrin is a super kosher. They got 3 categories of kosher. I'm not kidding. They got kosher, regular kosher. Then they got glatt, G-L-A-T-T, kosher, which means that the land that the animal is on has no unclean animals over there. So there's no elephants, there's no anacondas, there's no, I don't know, horses, I don't know what, on the land, right? But let me tell you what is on the land. Unclean birds, unclean worms, unclean bugs. A rabbit is not a clean animal, so no, it's not clean. You have rabbits running around. Squirrels not clean. You might have squirrels. Those little hedgehog guys with the cute pink feet. Their feet are so cute. They're cute little guys, but you can't make pets out of them. You know, they got all this armor on them with things that kind of porcupine job where they can stick you with it. You know, you don't want to. They're not pet material, but they're cute. You know, but anyway, you got those guys, and so how could you have no? You got flies. You got horse flies, right? Coming at me. How could you say there's no unclean animals there? Okay, now we go to the next level, and it gets more expensive as you go. The next level is not even applying to meat. It's Mehedrin, and they apply it to fruit and vegetables. Can you find any fruit or vegetable in Moses' law? And we're not under that anymore. You don't have to eat that according to Acts 10. But even if you wanted to take that position, which I suggest you don't, because Yeshua gave you your righteousness, and what he gave you is good enough, and God sees you as righteous based on your faith in Yeshua. That's it. You don't need to go do the works of Moses' law. Forget that. You don't need to do it. But they're making fruit and vegetable categorically kosher because they're looking at little bugs that might be in there, and they're excluding fruit and vegetables that might have little bugs in there. Now, I'm not saying if you get an apple and you see a big worm thing in there that you eat the apple with the worm in there. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't know if I would eat it. I don't think so. Some people would cut that piece of the apple off. That's probably okay. I don't know. But, they're not just talking about that. They're talking about bugs that are, like a 64th of an inch or 128th of an inch big that you wouldn't see that are in there, Mehedrin. And that's expensive. So now they're even doing kosher fruits and vegetables. You get the water says kosher on it here. And then they got kosher for Passover. I don't remember the Hebrew. In the Yiddish, it's Pesadika, they call it. Pesadika means it's Yiddish, it's not Hebrew. It's kosher for Passover. I don't remember what parav, I think they put here. Parav or something. It means kosher for Passover. so it doesn't have leaven in it. The supermarkets are kosher, but when they have Passover, instead of getting rid of the leaven product, they take plastic sheets and cover it up in the supermarket so you can't buy it. But that's not biblical if you're going to play with Moses' law, which I wouldn't suggest you do at all. I don't. If you're going to do that, um, you're breaking Moses' law. But I'm not trying to make a case here you should follow Moses' law, because it's over. You don't need to. Okay, forget it. You don't need to. But there is a law we got to follow, like Galatians 5:19-21, for instance, and other places in the New Testament. But it's unbelievable. So how do I fellowship with these people? And then they're into, well, do you think we're going to have the rapture? And then they're into Ezekiel 38:39, the Gog and Magog. Some of them are, well, we're going to be raptured out first. And, how am I going to talk to these people? They don't, when I've tried it, they listen and then they go away. What am I going to do? So I really don't have friends, so I got the dogs. They're my friends. But they're pretty limited friends. But just please keep praying for Mommy Dog, okay? I want to make sure she's really out of the woods. I'm not all, I appreciate that. Thank you. Actually, I'll pray and you could agree with my prayer or pray your own or do both. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for Mommy Dog to be happy, healthy, and whole, not be sick or have any symptoms, and live very happy life and healthy. And I submit this to you, and the other dog, Beulah, too. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can simply agree with that, or agree with it and do your own prayer, or do your own prayer. But please pray for the dog. I appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to do the Leningrad Codex, which is the oldest Masoretic Hebrew Old Testament, going back to the year about 900 AD. That's all compared to where we are today. And we're also going to use Codex Vaticanus, which goes back to around 300 AD, and there was no Catholic Church at the time this was done, so it has nothing to do with the Catholic state. Absconded with the word Vaticanus, I think, but Catholic Church did not exist in these days when it was done. This is the scraps and the segments and the fractional pieces of the original Septuagint, the Hebrew to Greek, that was done in 250 BC. Okay, I mean, this is the oldest witness we got, really. And they put it together from scraps and pieces in the Greek. So I have AI put it into English according to my demands, which are secular only, no church publishing house, no churchianity, I should say, translation tools, and no doctrines of the church world, any of them. So it's just a raw English translation, so we get to know what it really says, okay? And usually I'll start with the Hebrew. Okay, Ezekiel 37, verse 1. The hand of Jehovah was upon me, and he brought me out by the Spirit of Jehovah, and set me down in the midst of the valley, and it was full of bones. Okay. And he caused me to pass over them all around. And behold, there were very many on the face of the valley, and behold, they were very dry. Now this is like an allegory, like a story, like when when Yeshua showed Peter the animals on the sheet going up and down. There was no literal, actual, animals on a sheet somewhere going up and down 3 times. Okay, this is similar to this. Okay. And he said, you see, the Israelites would say, a nice healthy person has oiled the bones, not dry. Dry is brittle, break, stuff like that. Okay. And he said to me, Son of man. Now, he called that Yeshua that at times, right? Yeshua, well, maybe Ezekiel was the son of God also, we don't know. Why would he call him that? I'm not sure, but I don't want to make that teaching right now. But if you read Job 1:6 or 1:7, I think it's 6, you see that there are multiple sons of God in there. Okay, can these bones live? And I said, Lord Jehovah, you know. And he said to me, prophesy over these bones and say to them, O dry bones, hear the word of Jehovah. Thus says Adonai Jehovah to these bones, behold, I am bringing breath into you, and you shall live. Now, this is the confusing thing. If you try to literalize this, these people died on earth, and they went down to the bad place, the pit, most likely, right? These were the bad ones, I would think. Maybe somewhere in Abraham's bosom, but when we read the descriptors of this, it probably wasn't Abraham's bosom. Most certainly, I think. I think, and so their bones were one place, and their spirit is down in Sheol. So it's a little interesting, but let's keep reading. Again, I think it's just an allegory story, but it does have a very pointed. It is and it isn't. Let's keep reading. Verse 6. And I will place sinews upon you, and bring flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and place breath in you, and you shall live, and you shall know that I am Jehovah. So they didn't know that, apparently. So he's putting the cartilage and all the stuff on the meat, on the bones, right? So maybe he's taking their bones up on earth, and he's bringing the bones to life, but let's keep reading. So I prophesied as I was commanded. Now, God says he will not do anything unless he first runs it or speaks it through the prophets. Okay, so as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a sound, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to its bones. So the bones were just laying around. They didn't form a skeleton or anything like that. And I looked, behold, sinews were upon them, and flesh came up, and skin covered over them above, but there was no breath in them. Now it says spirit. The Greek from the Septuagint says no spirit in them. Then he said to me, prophesy to the breath. Prophesy, son of man, and say to the breath, thus says the Lord, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe into these slain ones, that they may live. Now, the Greek says these dead ones. Slain and dead are not exactly the same word, but slain doesn't make sense to me. It makes me stumble around. Slain means you were murdered. Dead means you were dead. So I'm not so high on the word slain here. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet. An exceeding great army, and the Greek says assembly instead of army. Then he said to me, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. The Greek says, and he spoke to me, saying, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Called by Israel, all the house of Israel, the whole house, all the house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried up, and our hope is lost. We are completely cut off for ourselves. Therefore, prophesy and say to them, thus says Adonai Yehovah, behold, I am opening your graves. There you go. Thus the bones will be coming together. For those that are in a grave, I am opening your graves. Now, it doesn't say that in the Greek. It's clearer. Well, it makes it sound better. Maybe it's not correct. It says, I open your tombs, and I will bring you up out of your tombs. And the Hebrew, it's opening your graves, and I will bring you up out of your graves. It's very similar in meaning. And I will bring you into the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am Jehovah when I open your graves, and when I bring you up out of your graves, my people. And I will place my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I will settle you on your soil, and you shall know that I have spoken and done it. declares Jehovah. All right. Now, you see, this is place you on your soil. It's not a New Jerusalem thing. This is Israel. This is going to happen when he appears in the clouds. Okay. And they come to Israel. Now, if they were murdered in combat or battle or something like that, they wouldn't really have graves or tombs. So I think it's, it's the dead. I mean, what about the ones that were put in the ovens in Auschwitz? Where their bones were thrown in heaps. I don't know what, they made big ditches with heavy equipment, and they maybe put the bones from thousands of people through them in there, but God can sort all this stuff out. Okay? So I don't know exactly how he does it. Okay? I'm not him. Sorry. I got a great excuse for not knowing. But he does do it, and they do come to Israel. How do they come to Israel? Well, they're in the pit, and I think he transports them into Israel. I don't think he's sending them to Brazil and Japan and Russia and then having them come here. I don't think that's happening. And there's nothing in here about sending them into the wilderness to enter the bond, to pass under the rod and enter the bond of the covenant. And I don't read that at all. How many of them are there? I don't know. I just don't know. But there's nothing in here that leads one to think that it's New Jerusalem. See, after the appearing, when he pours the Spirit out on all Israel, they shall all know him from the least to the greatest. And he says, you'll come here and you'll know that I am Jehovah. Now, there's another related scripture that I'll read. I'll just go to the King James for simplicity. And it's in Zechariah 9. I'm not sure on the verse, but it's towards the beginning or the middle. No, didn't come in good. Let's get it. Okay, something's not happening right. Oh, maybe it did work. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, it's further down. It says Zechariah 9, verse 11. As for thee also, by the blood of thy covenant, so that's Israelites, I have sent forth thy prisoners. Remember the parable of the rich man and the beggar? The beggar's eating the food, the crumbs off his table, and they both die, and the beggar goes to Abraham's bosom, and the rich guy goes to the pit, and he tells Father Abraham to send the beggar over there, have him dip his finger in water and put it on his tongue because it's so hot where he is. Okay. See, he was in the pit in a bad place, but he could see across a canyon or valley into Abraham's bosom, but they can't cross. He couldn't go to Abraham's bosom, and people in Abraham's bosom couldn't go to him. Okay, that's what we're talking about. So it's saying, forth thy prisoners out of the pit. And that's who Yeshua preached to when he went down the 3 days his body lay in the tomb. He was preaching to them. And then he took captivity captive. So I believe he took the ones in Abraham's bosom up to heaven. I don't think they're in Abraham's bosom anymore. Yes, I think Abraham went up with them. Yeah. Okay. I have sent forth thy prisoners out of the pit, where is no water. The rich guy said, have the beggar put his finger in water and put it on his tongue. Okay. Turn you to the stronghold, you prisoners of hope. Why are they hoping? Because Yeshua went down there and preached to them. And he's saying, turn you to the stronghold. Well, that's Israel. We're redeemed and we have everlasting life. We're the head of the nations. The nation doesn't serve you, they perish. You prisoners of hope, even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. We get a double portion, which is huge amount of stuff. When I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim, that's the 10 tribes, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, and made thee as the sword of a let me read this again, verse 14. And the Lord shall be seen over them, and his arrow shall go forth as the lightning. And the Lord, who's going to be seen over them? Yeshua. And he'll be seated at the right hand of Jehovah. They'll both appear. Go forth as the lightning. And the Lord God shall blow the trumpet, and shall go with whirlwinds of the south. Now, you'll hear that trumpet. It'll wake you up. Don't worry. The Lord of hosts shall defend them, and they shall devour and subdue and subdue with sling. Okay, and they shall devour and subdue with sling stones. That's like David. That's what we'll fight with. We're not going to be like regular people anymore, you know. And they shall drink and make a noise as through wine, and they shall be filled like bowls, and as the corners of the altar. And the Lord their God shall save them in that day. That's the day of vengeance. That's when Yeshua will appear as the flock of his people, for they shall be as the stones of a crown lifted up as an ensign, as a sign upon his land. For how great is his goodness, and how great is his goodness, and how great is his beauty. Corn shall make the young men cheerful, and new wine the maids. Now I tell you my standard joke, does the corn mean we're going to eat corn tortillas, which a lot of Hispanic people think that gives them great strength, and maybe it does. I've never experienced it, but maybe, I don't know. Or is it talking about corn liquor because it's talking about wine for the women? I don't know. I don't think it's corn liquor. So anyway, you can see that they're not coming into New Jerusalem. Okay? That's not what's happening. They're going to be here with you. So these people were on earth many centuries ago. And you get to hang out with them and talk to them. And they'll tell you all sorts of stuff. You'll have people here that, you know, knew Solomon, they knew King David, well, now Solomon and David are in the good place. They have to come down here and they get a chance. They get the second 70 to 70 years, which is a lifetime, to live. Well, lifetimes change throughout the Bible, but the most recent one was 70, maybe 80 years, So they live they go through the second 70, and then if they make it, then they go into New Jerusalem where there is no death and stuff like that. But they'll be tested, basically. Okay? But this time, they're not going to have their ears closed and their eyes, so they have a chance. Then you'll meet people that saw Yeshua when he was on earth. They'll tell you what it was like. They'll be very direct about it, So if a man and a woman come back together and they were married, are they still married? Well, no, because when they die, they're released from marriage, and they apparently died. So I don't think they come back married unless they want to or something. I'm at a loss on that one. I don't have clarity on it. If they wanted to come back and stay married, I don't know. We'll just have to play that one. We'll know when the time comes. I don't know. I think they're free of the marriage. That's pretty clear. Scripture says that. Could they want to stay married again? I suppose there's no law against that. But okay, now we're in the next part of Ezekiel 37. Where does it start? Find the verse. Okay, verse 15. So Ezekiel 37:15. The word of Jehovah came to me, saying, and you, son of man, take for yourself one stick, and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. So that's Simeon and Benjamin that are with Judah. Some of them, not many, very, very few. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of, this thing jumped, hold on. Oh man, this thing's driving me crazy. Okay, it really jumped on me. Let me get back. All right, I should be back here. So the word of Jehovah came to me, saying, and you, son of man, take for yourself one stick, write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, their companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim. Ephraim means the 10 tribes, Israel, and all the house of Israel, his companions, and bring them together to one another into one stick for yourself, and they shall become one in your hand. Okay, so we're one nation. It's not very hard to understand. We're not Judah and Israel, we're just Israel. It's future, but not very far down the road, you know. And when the children of your people speak to you, saying, will you not declare to us what these mean to you, say to them, thus says Adonai Jehovah, behold, I am taking the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his companions, and I will place them with it, with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in my hand. The nice thing is we're in his hand. That's a good place to be, believe me. Now, we're not literally a stick, it's an allegory, you understand? Okay. And the sticks upon which you write shall be in your hand before their eyes, and say to them, thus says Adonai Jehovah, behold, I am taking the children of Israel from among the Goyim, the heathen nations. The Greek says out of the midst of the nations. Well, he's taking the children of Israel from among the nations where they have gone, and I will gather them from all around and bring them to their own land. This is the next great Exodus, which will be starting right after he appears in the clouds. So obviously this is not going into New Jerusalem, it's going back to Israel for the second 70 of Daniel 9:24. And I will make them one nation. There is no 70 weeks in any Hebrew version of the Bible. It's made up. It's 70. It's two 70s. The first 70 happened, and the second 70 we'll get into. The first 70, you could say Babylon captivity, or you could say that Yeshua was born when? In the year 0, right? Not BC and not AD, 0. And when was the temple and all that destroyed? 70 AD. So that could be your first 70. But in any event, the second 70 starts when he appears in the clouds, and it ends when he returns to earth with New Jerusalem, and the beast and the false prophet get thrown alive in the lake of fire, and all that good stuff happens. Okay, and I will make them one nation in the land that'll be called Israel, upon the mountain of Israel, and one king shall be king of all of them. That's Yeshua. And they shall no longer be two nations, and no longer be divided into two kingdoms ever again. And that means also they're not going to have two kings, a king of Israel and a king of Judah. No, they'll just be one. There's an anointed prince in the next temple, but that's not a king. Yeshua is the king. And they shall no longer defile themselves with their idols, or with their detestable things, or with any of their transgressions, and I will save them from all their dwelling places in which they sinned, and I will cleanse them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. Where's the church fit in this? Gee, it ain't here. But if you're a true believer in Yeshua, you're in Israel, and you'll be involved in all of this good stuff. And my servant, you'll have an equal share, just like an Israelite, no problem. All you got to do is be a believer in Yeshua. You don't have to be a active worker of Moses' law. Believe me, that's not relevant at all. If anything, it'll detract from the faith you have in Yeshua. If you've got faith in Yeshua to get your righteousness and everlasting life that way, then you don't need to do the works of the law to get it. and my servant David shall be king over them, and one shepherd shall be for all of them, and in my judgments they shall walk, and my statutes they shall keep and do them. It doesn't say Moses' law. And they shall dwell upon the land that I gave to my servant, to Yaakov, in which your fathers dwelt, and they shall dwell upon it, they and their children and their children's children, forever. And David, my servant, shall be leader to them forever. Well, David shall never lack a man to sit upon the throne. It's first the anointed prince, and then of course it's Yeshua. But it's Yeshua always, even now. And I will make with them a covenant of peace, an everlasting covenant. It shall be with them, and I will establish them and multiply them and place my sanctuary in their midst. Okay, he puts the sanctuary in their midst. It says he will place it in our midst. It comes down from heaven, the next temple. That's not New Jerusalem. This is the next temple. Okay. In their midst forever, so it never goes. It gets defiled with the days of the beast and the false prophet, but it doesn't get destroyed or anything. They just consecrated after it's over. That's found in Daniel 8, someplace in there. My dwelling place shall be over them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And the nations shall know that I am Jehovah. Ani Yehovah. It's I, Jehovah. Who, not me, of course, but that's just what the text says. I am Jehovah, who sets Israel apart when my sanctuary is in their midst forever. So when, you got to listen to, let's read this in the Greek. And the nations shall know that I am the Lord that sets them apart when my holy things are in the midst of them forever. The holy things is not an accurate translation in my book, and now the Hebrew. And the nations, the heathen nations, the Goyim, shall know that I am Jehovah, who sets Israel apart when my sanctuary is in the midst of them forever. So when the temple comes here, when he places the temple in our midst is the middle. The middle of your body is your puppet, your belly button. The middle of Israel is Jerusalem. That's where the temple goes, in its right place. Mount Zion will be there, don't worry. It will be up there. And that's when he sets us apart, and that's when the show goes really ballistic. Yeah, I can't wait. And that might happen before the siege is complete. We might have that temple there with Elijah working. I don't know yet. Could be. So, I just thought this was, and led to believe, I guess this was a good chapter to cover. for today. Let's take a quick gander at the live stream. So, yeah, when you pray for the mommy dog, please pray for the Beulah too. She's the other dog. We're down to just 2 dogs. Thank you guys for all the greetings. Okay, let me get a prayer for us going and some spiritual warfare for us going. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem, Yeshua, HaMashiach, I pray for me and my wife, all the true believers and our households, that we would be happy and healthy and joyful and have your shalom peace, and we would have your strength, stamina, and endurance from you helping us, and we would have your healing and recuperative power flowing through us. And our animals and pets and ourselves would be safe, secure, happy, healthy, and whole. We pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray sincerely for all of us, the believers that have no place to live, they get a place to live quickly. And those that need a job, get a job quickly. And those of us that need to have clients and customers for our businesses, have those also. Then I pray we all have adequate money plus some extra. And I pray that we would all learn the scriptures better and know the Bible better, and that I could do better live streams and videos and better Bible teaching. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can pray for this and agree with it, even if it's a video, don't worry, you can agree with it. Next we'll do spiritual warfare. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I submit to you, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, a loosing of all the unclean spirits out of me and my wife, all the true believers, and our households and families. If any of these people have an unclean spirit in them, it's loosed out of them immediately, never to return. And if there's any evil spiritual warfare targeting any of these people, it's immediately null and void, of no value, no effect, forever, shall never return, even in a like or similar fashion, shall never return. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that as a, just agree with it, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, if you're a believer. Okay, on my journey through the welfare, public and private, had some progress yesterday. It's favorable. It looks good if it doesn't fall apart. It looks good. And that's for food, to get meals. And then there's some more stuff I'm working on that seems to be dragging. So please keep praying that I have good success managing the public and private welfare systems in Israel. I would really appreciate that. I'm trying to get the Meals on Wheels, so it frees my wife from cooking, and if I try to cook, I just make a disastrous mess. And so they have prepared meals. So anyway, we got something working on that. Looks like we'll get it going. Looks good now. And I'm working in the private sector there, and I can work in the public sector also on that, but I chose the private. But there's a lot of charities in Israel. The only homeless people you really see in Israel are the ones that are homeless by choice. You know. Well, I imagine there are some that are homeless from other ways, but there's a lot of options you could find to get a place to live. So there's a lot of charities in Israel, but I'm learning there's bogus charities. They tell you they do all these great things, and then if you contact them and say, hey, I'd like to participate in this or that, and they're not there. I mean, they're not real. They say they got all this stuff going on, and I don't think they do. I think they just do it to raise money. I don't see much going on. All right, so I hope you got something out of this, and remember we're offering driven, and I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua. Thank you for all the prayers, and hope you really got something out of this, and I'll keep everybody updated with Telegram and this, and it seems now that Trump is in a vice, and he's going to have to get into attack mode or else just leave the Middle East, and I don't even think that'll work. But he's probably, we'll see. If we see equipment moving into the Middle East, we know he's going to take the Iran ultimatum and, shove it down their throat. We'll watch. We'll let you know. Okay, guys, I'm out.